Hi again guys, so this is just going to be a quick tip. As I mentioned previously on this tricopter that one of the previous videos was on, that one of these motors was the tachometer was running lower RPM compared to the other two. Now we said that it might be the speed controller, or it might be the bus motor, or a bearing, or something like that, which you can actually check and then fix. However, one thing to remember, and I can tell you that I've been lucky since I've been in radio control, anything for that matter, for a very, very long time, so I've seen it happen. And what that is, and I've seen it more in radio control electric car racing, is about the motors. The motor efficiency and the motors themselves actually wear out, and people don't think about that. Okay, there is a magnet. The rotor itself is magnetized, which spins inside the brushless motor, and it loses magnetism. So that's one thing that will cause you to lose power. The other thing is the bearings. I've seen so many people get these, fly them and fly them and fly them, and never ever actually clean the motor or clean the bearings, or not just clean the bearings, but also put a drop of oil in the bearings every once in a while. Now I can tell you, with the radio controlled electric cars, yes, we drive them a lot harder than these in most cases, because you really take them to the limit, especially with the temperature and all of that. But those things we take apart almost every day, clean them, add a drop of oil in the bearings, make sure the bearings are clean. If the bearings don't work, put a new bearing in. Okay, not all these motors, you can't do that with all these motors, that's true, but these motors are usually cheaper than the electric car motors that we use, which are usually $90, $100 or more for that quality of motors. So sometimes you might actually have to replace your entire motor, but if your upkeep of these motors is very good, then they will last you a lot longer. So what you want to do is, after every time you use them, especially if you go out in the park where there's either dust or grass or anything like that, that stuff gets inside. Get some motor spray or brake cleaner or anything like that, and clean out your motors. Okay, just spray the hell out of it. Obviously keep that away from anything else, especially plastics and that sort of thing. You don't want to get that stuff on there. So take your props off, your prop adapter. If you need to take the motor off, but in most cases you don't really need to, and then just spray the hell out of it. You'll see what comes out is actually black. It's so dirty. And then make sure your bearings are running smoothly. You can usually feel for that or hear it, and then just put a drop of oil. Okay, there's different types of bearing oil, lubricating oil. I recommend the ones that we use with RC electric cars. So if you go on any of those websites, you'll be able to find that. Just check the ones that they use. Most of them are pretty good. You won't need anything more than that for multi-rotors, or for planes or helicopters for that matter. I can tell you, for helicopters it becomes very, very important. Putting in the grease where it needs to be, putting in that grease periodically where it needs to be, and cleaning those bearings, putting a drop of oil in your motors. All of that becomes very, very important, or you will very, very quickly find out how they don't fly very well. I think the multi-rotor is a little bit more forgiving, but sometimes you find that out, and I think this is what happened over here, where one motor is just not working very, very well. Again, it could be the speed controller, but we'll check that out. The idea is basically just remember to upkeep on these electronic parts. They do wear out. Okay, it's in multi-rotors, they are the one thing that really wears out. so it's the only thing you really got to check periodically after every flight, just to give it a good clean, maybe after 5 flights, 10 flights, but as long as you do it periodically and put a drop of oil, and like I said, a drop of oil, don't put a hell of a lot of oil in the bearing, because it's just going to be a cause for attraction for dirt. And make sure that when you put it in, if you put it in from the top, leave it upright for a while, and then go to the bottom bearing and then leave it upside down for a while to let that oil go through. And that's pretty much it. So that's just a tip, and I can tell that after a while you will probably have to replace the motors. It could take years, it could take a little bit less, and it really depends on how well you upkeep these motors and how often you fly. So that's just another thing to think of. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, leave your comments, questions, anything below about this topic. I haven't seen anybody actually mention anything about this, and I think this is very, very important for multi-rotors. I can tell you, you will definitely see an efficiency difference in a multi-rotor that if you've been flying it for a while, for quite a while, and all of a sudden you find out, you know, you've seen this video and you go and you clean your motors, you lubricate your bearings, you will definitely see a difference in performance. You know, it might not be huge, and what I mean by that, you might go from 10 minutes of flight time to 11 or 12 minutes, but if you think about it, that is quite a bit. That's about 10-20% increase in flight time. Okay, so that actually means that your motors are running cooler all of a sudden, and there's less load on the speed controllers, which means there's less load on your batteries. And your first sign of problems is if you run a battery and your C rating on the battery is great, but they puff. Okay, if your battery puffs, it means that your motors and your ESC are trying to draw too much power out of that battery. Now this shouldn't happen, especially with say a 45C battery, but I've seen it happen, and the reason for that is because your motors are drawing too much amps, and the reason for that is because they are either worn out or you need to clean them. We see that a lot with the radio controlled cars. Basically your motors wear out, even with well lubricated clean motors, they're just worn out, and the amp draw is absolutely insane. I mean, we've seen a motor where it starts off with an amp draw of about 1.5 to 2 amps, and once you've run it, say for 6 months, maybe a year is pushing it, but I can tell you within 6 months of racing, and not even every weekend, every other weekend, maybe even once a month, you will see that motor is all of a sudden going to jump up to 8 amps and higher. I've had motors where you put it on the tester and it'll go up to 20 amps, and the thing cuts out and tells you, sorry, your motor's drawing too many amps, and that's on the motor tester. So definitely it's going to make a big difference for you guys, especially on batteries against puffing. Alright, anyways, again, as I said, thanks for watching, leave your comments and so on. I just kept on rambling. See you next time.